Coaching is not therapy. All my coaching programs are 6 months minimum. And I used to do hourly, but that didn't work with my model because they were coming in and out and they weren't getting real success. So I said, you know what? It's really going to take 6 months to be able for them to really see the result that they need. Not that it's going to take 6 months to get a result, but to really believe it. And so the first week, we really spent a lot of time getting to understand them as a person. We don't even talk about business. We talk about, tell me about you. What's your life story? You know, what impacted you? Why did you go into this career? Why did you major in this? What were some of the issues or problems that prevented you when you was a child and you stood up in the room and said, when I grow up, I want to be a what? Finish that. Well, what happened? Because you said you wanted to be this, what got in the way of that?
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Pedro, and today's guest is Dr. Lyman Montgomery, a best-selling author, international speaker, and leadership coach with more than 3 decades of experience helping leaders align faith, purpose, and performance. As a certified life and business coach and 6 Sigma Black Belt, he has trained thousands worldwide to lead with clarity, discipline, and lasting impact. He's also the founder of Sacred Greeks, a faith-based movement exploring the intersection of Christianity and Black Greek letter organizations. Through his writing and teaching, he challenges assumptions, strengthens leadership, and helps people root their identity and purpose in something deeper than titles or achievement. Welcome to the show, Lyman.
Wow, thank you. I'm not sure who you was introducing, but man, sounds like a great guy.
I love that, man. It was great to have you. I'm super pumped. And we were talking before the podcast recording, right? The pre-podcast. And
yes,
I want to dive into the origin story now, rewind a bit, because every coach has the moment where they look at their life and say, yeah, I guess this is what I'm doing now. So when was that for you?
Yeah, it was when my youngest son, who's now 26, I was traveling literally all over the country, speaking, missing birthdays, just running the rat race, trying to build the company. And it was his 4th or 5th birthday. And his mom, my ex-wife at the time, she had called me and said, hey, we want to plan for his birthday. Can you help? And I'm like, sure, but I'm busy doing this. So this was probably like 3 weeks prior to his birthday. Fast forward to about 3 days. All right. I'm scheduled to fly back in to Dayton, Ohio, where we lived at the time. And I said, okay, what do you need me to do? And she looked at, and she was on the phone and I was driving and she's like, forget about it. I asked you 3 weeks ago to help and you didn't help. So matter of fact, he doesn't even want you at his birthday because he was like, dad's going to be on his cell phone. He's not going to be paying attention. And that really, it hit me like a ton of bricks that, man, here it is. My son doesn't want me at his birthday party. And that got me on this journey of, man, what am I doing wrong? And I realized that I lacked focus. I was all over the place. So if someone called and said, hey, I need someone to talk about leadership, I'm on a flight. I need someone to talk about gymnastics. I know nothing about gymnastics, all right? But I'm on a flight, And so I was highly distracted. And I went on this literally year journey of trying to figure out, how do I get focused? What does that really mean? People would always say, man, you need to get focused, but no one explained, well, how do you go about doing that? And after about a year or so of doing a lot of soul searching, a lot of research, I hit the golden ticket and I realized that the reason most people are distracted is due to 1 of 3 reasons. The first reason is they don't have a clear path to success. So they're trying to throw, it's like the old Italian saying, take some spaghetti, throw it against the wall and hope something sticks, right? So you're trying all these different things, many irons in the fire, right? Maybe this will work. The second thing I realized is you have to dedicate to one thing, get proof of concept before moving to something else. And so I would have a 60% project done, then I would start a new project. It would be 30%, then I start a new project, right? So I had all these unfinished projects, but none of them had any real successes. And then the third thing was that I found out was perhaps the most profound, especially for entrepreneurs, is what I call SOS, shiny object syndrome. People would call me and say, hey, I got this new idea. And they would pitch me. And guess what? The 3 projects, that 30%, 60%, 70%. Now I've launched a whole new project that had nothing to do. So people were confused. They were like, I don't know what you really do. You know, I looked at one thing, you're doing this. Now, do I still struggle with that somewhat? A little bit, but it's a lot better in trying to bring that into synergies and saying, okay, you have to be able to be focused on one thing. And that's when I launched Focus Driven Lifestyle. And the reason that I called it Focus Driven Lifestyle is I believe focus drives everything in our life. And when I began to get super focused and get successes, I was able to teach others how to do that. And they got successes. And now they created a lifestyle that was focus driven. Focus on 3 primary things. Focus on you. Focus on those whom you love, and focus on the greater community. But it has to begin with you. You remember that you're on an airplane. I don't know if they have it in Brazil, but in the United States, the saying comes on. Should we lose oxygen? The oxygen mask would drop. It said, put yours on first. So I was going around putting everybody else's oxygen mask on them, and I'm suffocating. And I said, wait a minute, we need to reverse engineer. So that's the origin story of how I got started. It started with my son not wanting me at his birthday party. And going on this path, this journey to figure out how do I get focused so I can, when I'm with my family, I'm focused on my family. When I'm at work, I'm focused at work, and being able to triage that rather than trying to multitask and do a lot of little things.
Yeah, it gets back to whenever we say yes to something, what are we saying no to?
Yes.
What
Perfectly
are we
put.
sacrificing, right? And then if you are aware of that sentence, it brings back you to intention. Like what am I trying to achieve here? Am I working out of my ego or am I working out of I don't know, provide more opportunities for my kids, or should I even be more present or not? So I completely get what you're saying because I'm also a dad, right? With 2 kids. One is 3 and the other is 7. So, hey, Pedro, pay attention. Okay.
Right.
Hear Lyman here a little bit. Okay. A little bit more. But I'm curious, when did it shift from I'm helping people, right, in the coaching space to I'm building real business around this?
Yeah, right around about, it really shifted, I would say, right around about 17 years ago, because I had launched a business, but I was still trying to figure things out. And I really hit massive success financially as well as personally, as far as really understanding focus and how to live a focus-driven lifestyle about 17 years ago, when people from all over start contacting me saying, hey, I heard about this focus thing you're doing, man. Can you come talk to our group? Can you come to our association? Can you be a keynote speaker at our conference? And I'm like, how are you guys finding me? Man, you're the talk of the town. I was talking to John. John said he saw you at a conference. And that's what led to writing the book, Focus Driven Lifestyle, which became an instant bestseller, got me on more stages and everything. And it was a whirlwind of just doing book tours. And that's really when I've realized I got something that could help a lot of people. I reached out to a lot of thought leaders, and they all concluded the same thing, like, Lyman, a lot of books tell you what you need to do, but your book actually walks people through the process of how to not only get focused, remove distractions, but also stay focused so that they can live a focus-driven lifestyle.
Okay. And after you got rolling, right? Who are the people that kept showing up? Because I want to understand the ones you realize, okay, this is my tribe, because you said it yourself, fitness, right?
Yeah.
And you're trying to embrace the entire world, trying to solve everyone's problem. But Was it a time that you felt like, hey, I can be best, I can serve best this type of people?
No. What I had to do was niche down. And what I realized is the sweet spot were emerging entrepreneurs, because they was right in that place where they're starting to make money. Let's say they're hit six figures, right? And they're now in a position where they got a little extra money. And they're thinking about, well, should I invest in this? Should I do this? Rather than really perfecting what they have. And so I would say emerging entrepreneurs is the sweet spot. That's majority. Also females that were looking to launch a business, and maybe they were in a career. They got fed up for lack of opportunity. And they decided to invest in themselves. So 70% of my clientele are women that are entrepreneurs, that are moms, that say, I have all this knowledge, all this expertise, but I don't know how to put it into a business. And that's what led to, we talked about earlier in the pre-podcast, is led to moving from I can't to I will framework. And that's what really helped a lot of women in particular to launch their businesses and be successful through my coaching and through my mentoring.
Okay. Awesome. Interesting that 70% is out of women. I think that's so interesting and cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's the coaching side, right? Now
Yes.
let's talk about the part nobody escapes. Marketing, right?
Yes.
So you already kind of browsed through it, but how do people usually find you?
So people normally find me in one of three ways. Believe it or not, referrals is still my number one way people find me. Either they heard me speak, like here on a podcast that was promoted, and they reach out. I'm at a conference, a networking event. I do have a social media presence. They might see an Instagram post or something on LinkedIn that I posted. They might read an article that I wrote for Medium, which is my preferred platform as far as article writing. Some of them just Google search me, but I would say primarily it's still word of mouth, where someone says, hey, you know anyone that is a good coach, whether it comes to launching a business, building a business, or I'm thinking about succession and closing down my business, do something else. Going back to the example of primarily women that's in the workforce. They have built up a nice nest egg. They're looking for the second phase of their life. They're getting ready to retire, or they're getting ready to pivot and do something different. And they just need someone to help them move from where their current state to their future state. And I become sort of that vehicle, that middle passage, that bridge to help them get there.
Toll man. Okay.
Yeah,
I love it.
I like that. Yes.
All right. Now let's talk business for a second,
Yes.
Toll man. So people find you, right?
Yes.
Through referrals, they Google you name it, through a speaking gig. So they resonate with your work, and
Yes.
eventually they want to know what working with you actually looks like.
Yes.
So everyone builds their coaching business a bit differently. So when someone actually becomes a client, Lyman, what does that experience look like right now?
What that looks like is they're terrified. The first conversation, they're literally terrified because they've paid, and they're like, you know what? I don't know if this really gonna work. And so we spend probably, and we have a 6 month, all my coaching programs are 6 months minimum. And I used to do hourly, but that didn't work with my model. Okay. Cause they were coming in and out and they weren't getting real success. So I said, you know what? It's really gonna take 6 months to be able for them to really see the results that they need. Not that it's going to take 6 months to get a result, but to really believe it. And so the first week, we really spent a lot of time getting to understand them as a person. We don't even talk about business. We talk about, tell me about you. What's your life story? What impacted you? Why did you go into this career? Why did you major in this? What were some of the issues or problems that prevented you when you was a child and you stood up in the room and said, when I grow up, I want to be a what? Finish that. Well, what happened? Because you said you wanted to be this, what got in the way of that? So we spent a lot of time that first week really deconstructing who they are. The second part, we began to talk about vision. Okay, what do you want your life to look like in the future? Now we're talking about right now, because I have to get them out of inaction and into thinking about, wow, maybe it's possible. Maybe, I can really do this, because it's very difficult to take someone who's already nervous, frustrated, maybe stressed out. Maybe there's some fear they're dealing with. Maybe there's some hidden trauma that they have not unpacked. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, there are some clients that I will strongly encourage that, coaching is not what you need right now. You really need therapy and coaching, because I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist. Okay. And you have a lot of life trauma that's blocking you from even being in a position to move forward because you're stuck. Okay. I can help you get unstuck, but I'm not a therapist to deal with the psychological or traumatic impact of your childhood. And I think that's the difference between me and a lot of coaches, is that I will refund. Matter of fact, I had a client, it just wasn't a good fit. I would tell her or suggest that she would do something, and she would do the complete opposite. After the third time, I said, you know what? You're not in a position that you're ready to be coached because you're not coachable. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to refund you 100% and strongly suggest that you get therapy. And I refunded her money because it just wasn't a good fit, because she was not coachable. And so that's sort of what that experience looked like, is being brutally honest and helping them to see what it's going to take and let them make that decision. Are you willing to go forward? Are you willing to add up the cost? Because they're not willing to be coachable, it's going to be frustration. And trust me, I've had clients that I wish I had never accepted them because they just weren't in a position to be coachable. No fault of their own. They just had a lot of trauma that was preventing them from moving forward. And that's where I make that distinction between coaching is not therapy.
Wow, that's powerful. Easier said than done, right?
Yes.
When bills are getting in the mailbox and you're like, yeah, I kind of need it. But at the same time, I love the fact that you have integrity, right?
Yeah.
You cannot help someone. You just don't. And it makes perfect sense, at least in your own practice, but you can help them somehow because you're serving them by telling them, hey, this is not the right fit, but I have someone to point you to, or something to look for. So yeah.
The other thing, similar to what I started doing an application process to really, and if I take on a client, they get like a survey. And then if they become a client, they get 100-question survey that they must complete. And that tells me a lot about them. If they don't complete the survey, that lets me know, okay, they're not ready. Because if they're really ready, and some of the questions requires them to do some deep inner thinking and feeling. Like one of the questions on the survey is, share with me a troublesome situation. How did it impact you? What did you do? And how does it still impact you today? Well, you just can't answer A, B, or C. You really have to go deep and think about that and say, wow, well, how does that impact me even today? And it takes time to do that. And I give them a week to complete it, and then we review it. And that's, again, one of those processes that I found out through a mentor of mine. He said, Lyman, you can try to save everybody and reach no one, or you can be very strategic and know exactly who your audience is, your tribe is, and they will forever be loyal and become ambassadors for you. And I found that to be so true.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a commitment check. It's like,
that's perfect.
When you're
yes.
when you're on the other side of hiring, for example, that I've been there and done that, sometimes you add some challenges just to filter commitment. It's like, send me a video of X, Y, and Z. And they're like, oh, I'm not going to send it because I don't want to put the work in.
There you go.
So it's a commitment check, and I 100% get it. It's not about a technical or, oh, the answer was right or wrong. It's about, are you actually doing this? And the commitment check passed on in my early days, right? I'm 39, but I had my fun a while. I was like, I will not accept someone like a date that is like making me wait an hour,
There you go.
An hour, 30 minutes, because that person simply doesn't value my time. And that's something like commitment also. And Lyman, your work seems pretty hands-on, man. We're talking about a coaching practice, speaking gigs, books, right? You're traveling all around, multiple business. So how do you think about capacity so you don't stretch yourself too thin?
Great team. A good friend of mine by the name of Mark Anthony Garrett gave me the best business advice early on. He said, Lyman, focus on what you do best, outsource the rest. And I have an incredible virtual team that I don't have to do everything. Now with AI, oh my God, I have a workforce out there that work 24/7, man. They don't argue, they don't complain. And so we just got real smart as far as how we are able to get things done, become highly, highly efficient, to be able to scale in certain areas, but also be able to pivot when we need to, when we see that the market is shifting or changing. And that goes back to, again, that framework that developed over many, many years to help people move from I can't, inaction, focus on cause, lacking authority, not seeing the need, having trust issues, to will. Because that's very powerful when you are able to see a person say, you know what? When I first signed up for your coaching program, I noticed that I said a lot of I can't. Well, I can't do that. I don't think I could do that. And now, man, being with you for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, I can do this. I will do this. And that's the transformation. Going back to that I will, being intentional, seeing their worthiness, living in their own integrity, forever learning, being coachable, and then being able to leverage their skills, their opportunities, their education to go on to do the things that are important to them, that are their focus dials that I call.
I want to tap into your experience a little bit here real quick, because I had some guests and other coaches telling me the same principle, right? You outsource so you can focus on your zone of genius. But some of them told me the struggles they went through. It's like, yes, do that, but you need to have at least an idea of what that person is going to do. It's not like you're clueless about it, or you might not even know how to track it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Have you ever experienced or saw something like that? You're like, oh, I saw X, Y, and Z trying to outsource this, but they were like never done that and they were kind of lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so it goes back to my background's in human resources. And so understanding how to interview people, understanding how to source, recruit, things of that nature. And so what works for me and has worked for many, many of my coaching clients is, remember I talked earlier about having them to create a vision of what they want their life to look like, right? Part of creating that vision is alignment, right? And so whenever you meet someone, whenever you take on a client, whenever you're considering a new career path, there's three things that I encourage my clients to always consider. Number one, does this new adventure align with who you are as a person? Number one, are you getting good vibes, right? Does the energy match? Okay. Does the conversation match? For example, if you held up a glass, are you the person that sees the glass half full, but yet you're trying to work with someone that says, oh no, the glass is empty? Are you positive, but yet the people that you are attracting are naysayers? Oh, that won't work. I tried that in 1975 and it didn't work. Well, man, that was 40 years ago. What have you done lately? And so alignment becomes key. The second is, are you able to communicate with clarity what it is that you want? Most people don't know what they want. They know what they need, but they don't really know what they want. They will say, I want to be happy. Well, what does happiness look like to you? Well, but they're really saying, I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to feel loneliness. But they really haven't deep dived and dissected, what does happiness mean to you? Because they've had so many people tell them what happiness looked like. So you had one person that says, well, if you made $100,000, you'll be happy. Guess what? They checked the box. They made $150,000. They were happy for about 6 months. And now guess what? It dropped. Well, you need to get motivated. If you was motivated and you did self-talk and you had all these affirmations, you would be happy. So every day they're telling themselves, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. And they're not happy, because happiness is not external, it's internal. Okay. What makes me happy might be different than what makes you happy or someone else happy. Okay. For example, my wife and I, happiness to me, Lyman, is being able to create things, take an idea from my mind, put it on paper, build it, and then be able to show the world, wow, I was able to take a thought and now give birth to it, that it now feeds the world, i.e. books, coaching programs, et cetera, speaking at conferences, right? My wife is an auditor. What makes her happy is seeing people get real results, okay? She's not a person that wants to be in front of the camera on stage. She's a behind the scenes person, all right? But she's a systems person. So she wants to make sure that every system in a person's life is operating at full capacity. That's what makes her happy. That gives her joy and fulfillment. Also, community service gives her fulfillment. And so that's going to be different for each and every person. And the last thing that I would say, outside of alignment, making sure that energies match, right? The third, and perhaps the most profound, and it's difficult to do for a lot of people, is the power to say no. Man, I think you said earlier, if you're saying yes to everything, then what are you saying no to? And it's difficult to say no. Someone comes to you, oh man, they got a great idea. Man, yes, you can make a lot of money, but it doesn't align with your values. It doesn't align with who you are. And you have to be willing and strong enough to live in your integrity, see the worth of yourself, and say, you know what? I'm sure that's a great idea, but it doesn't match where I'm at, what I'm doing, or who I am. It's just like if someone came to me saying, hey, Lyman, I got this great idea. We could sell alcohol. I don't drink, or cigarettes, tobacco product. I'm sorry, I don't drink, I don't smoke. So I would not be able to live in my integrity because I wouldn't be able to speak about it because I'm not part of that community. So I would have to be, that would be a hard no for me. And that's hard for a lot of people to do, is to say no.
Yeah. Sometimes in social circles, saying no, it's like putting outside of the box and it feels weird. I'm going to change my friends, because I created these friends based on this sort of habit I have. So yeah, 100%. Now, Lyman, I'm curious about where you're taking all this, right? Looking
Yes.
ahead, where do you see the business going? Are you thinking about scaling, hiring, or is there a next step you're excited about?
Yeah. And so, oh man, I'm really excited about this. And so we are in the process. We're about 99% done. We got a new coaching app that we're launching. Now, if I got to send you the prototype, matter of fact, you know what? Let's do this, because I want some beta testers out there. If you
Okay.
go to Focus Driven, FocusDriven.com, focusdriven.com, you can actually preview the Focus Driven Clarity app and play around with it. It's something that, again, it's in beta right now. We haven't launched it on the App Store. We'll probably do that in about another 2-3 weeks. But it's going to be it's a lot of fun. And so, and this app, I'm excited about it because it has over 15 to 20 different coaching modalities that coaches can use. And it's everything that you need to be a successful coach. The forms, the application process, there's demos in there, there's scenarios in there. And so that's what's next, man, is really saying, Lyman, how do you duplicate what you're doing in a smart way? And for me, having an app that people can download, especially this is for coaches, all right, to help coaches and even consultants have a framework that has worked for me and to be successful with it. So focusdriven.com, you can access the Focus Driven Clarity app.
Okay, I'm just writing it down. I'm going to check that. I'm going to be a beta tester.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, because I'm also a coach, so awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And of course, whenever we're aiming towards the next chapter, there's always something we're refining in the present, right? So what are you currently trying to improve or tighten up in your business right now?
Right now, I would have to say segmentation. Because the coaching 21 years, like I said, 50,000 clients that I have personally coached or touched over those 21 years. When people hear that, like, you've coached 50,000 people. Yeah, but it's not all at once. This is over, this is over a 21-year period. All right. And that's how I was able to, live the life that my wife and I live, able to travel all over the world, is because our retention rate is right around 85%, that they stay with us. We have a number of people that they graduate, and a year or two later they come back and say, hey, you know what? I need 6 more months with you. No problem. They get a nice discount and things of that nature. And so that's really segmentation, because we also have the Sacred Greeks, which is a new launch for the faith-based community. I'm not sure in Brazil they have fraternities and sororities at colleges and universities. It's maybe more of an American thing of fraternities.
Yeah,
and
more
things like that.
of an US
Yeah,
stuff.
of a US thing. But there's this phenomenon going on where people that's in the faith-based community, they question if Christians should be in fraternities and sororities. And I said, you know what? The faith-based community has been kind of silent on this matter. I said, let me, and I'm a member of a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And I said, let me share my experience of being in a fraternity, still active in a fraternity, and also being a religious person, and kind of share and give some guidance to those that might be struggling, thus Sacred Greeks, and create this nice movement. Wrote a book called Sacred, Not Sinful, that kind of challenges some of the myths out there about faith and fraternity. And so that's kind of like my charitable giving, right? And it's been great. And then also we have this is for the healthcare sector that's doing bonkers, because a lot of people were struggling with compliance issues, right? In government, I'm not sure in Brazil how the government, man, if you're in the healthcare sector, there's a lot of regulations.
Red tape is all over, man.
Red tape all over. And there were great providers that were providing great services that were losing their license. And in a previous life, I ran a healthcare organization for a number of years. And so again, this is what normally happens is I see a problem or someone bring a problem to me and say, hey, Lyman, what do you think about this? And if I have expertise in that and there's an alignment, I say, you know what? I think I have an opinion because I was very good at that. Let me take my HR background. Let me take my Six Sigma, which is all about systems, productivity, and efficiency, and apply it to those arenas. And so I only deal in 3 arenas. I deal in healthcare because my educational background is in healthcare administration. I deal with coaching because my son didn't want me to go to his birthday party because I was so distracted with chasing money, building a life, building a business, and really wasn't focused on the things that I should be focused in on. And that's what led to the coaching business, working with emerging entrepreneurs that at least at 100,000 or more. And the reason that is important is that they're able, number one, it doesn't become a conversation about price anymore. Once they know they have a steady income, as opposed to, man, I don't know how I'm going to pay my light bill. Okay. That's a different conversation because we're talking about growth and getting client acquisition. We're talking about building systems into it. And if your focus is, I got rent due and I need $200, I need $1,000 by next week. Well, that changes the whole tenor of the conversation. And I have systems in place to help them get there, but it's not going to happen in 2 weeks. Okay. Because they haven't built a base yet, And so I tell people the difference between I build luxury hotels, not container homes. You can just take a container, chop it up and drop it anywhere. That's not what I do. Okay. There are people that do that. Nothing wrong with that. Right. But if you're going to build a luxury hotel, you got to go deep. And what I found as far as being able to sustainability is the deeper you're able to go, the wider you can become. Most people go broad and straight up, but they don't have any depth. And so when the winds of life come, they tip over. They fall over. Sort of like I don't know, in Brazil, we had this thing in the US called the Three Little Pigs, right? One built a house of straw, the next one of sticks, the other one of bricks, right? So when the wolf of the winds of life come and blow against you, right? If it's built out of straw, it looks nice, right? It's malleable, but it will not sustain. Sticks a little better, right? But depending on the ferocity of the winds, it won't last. But if you have a deep foundation built of concrete, built of steel, that's also able to, like the willow tree, able to be flexible. In Chinese martial art, they have a statement called firm yet flexible. Okay.
Mm.
Bruce Lee called it be like water. Water takes the shape of whatever the container is in, right? Water can save you, but also if you were put pressure on that water, it can cut through stone. And
Mhm.
so you have to, yes, be firm, but also be flexible. And that's what I hope the next level in my coach is to help people to understand that, to be able to segment those 3 different visions that I have. All 3 of them are doing well in and of themselves, but also on a personal note, I'm 58 years old, right? And now I start thinking about legacy, right? Will my sons want to take over? Maybe my youngest one, he's entrepreneurial. My oldest son, he's like, nah, I don't want to do all that stuff, right? So, you build this stuff up and you start thinking about, wow, the next generation, who's going to take over when I'm no longer here, right? What would that legacy? That's what I'm thinking about now is legacy building. If that answers your question, I know that's a very long answer to a very direct
Yeah.
question.
No, I love that, man. I really appreciate that. And if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, where can
Yeah.
people find you and connect with you, Lyman?
Real easy. If you go to coachlyman.com, Coach Lyman, it is a portal that is real simple. You're going to have 3 tabs there. Either you're interested in coaching, you're interested in my healthcare services, or in sacred Greeks. And so once you tap on one, it takes you directly to where you need to go. Make it real simple. So that's my portal with the 3 doors is coachlyman.com. Real simple.
There were a few things you shared today that really stuck with me. I would say being so vulnerable about the origin story, about missing birthdays, and that your boy didn't want you at his own party, your birthday. I mean, that's so powerful
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, coaches, they need to be more vulnerable because they ask that from their clients. And it's
Yes.
only fair you do the same, and doing that on the podcast, I think it's very impactful, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I would say also overall the honesty in your hardships, and how you were missing appointments, how you were kind of scattered, And I would highlight also the fact that you mentioned that example that you're not a therapist, to understand your own limitations, right?
Yes.
To understand where you can serve people the best and how you can do that, and refunding 100% of that. I mean, it tells about integrity at the end of the day. I also would pinpoint the fact that you created that 100 questions form,
Yes.
so you can kind of a commitment check, which I think it's cool. I would say also, I love the fact that you asked, like, what happiness means to you, right?
Yes.
What does that look like? And that reminded me of a Jim Carrey quote. It's like, he said something like, I'm not going to rephrase it perfectly, but it's like, I wish everyone would experience this, success,
Yes.
being rich, so they would know this is not the answer,
That's
and
true.
I like that quote. And also the fact that you mentioned the rent due, right? And connecting that with the idea of having someone who's starving and you're like, hey, come here, let's take you to a 5-star Michelin restaurant. That's, it's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't align, it doesn't connect properly
Right.
for the experience on the both sides. So sometimes we
Absolutely.
need to build that foundation first.
You have to build that foundation. It's so key.
Exactly.
And that just
Lyman.
reminds me of that Jim Carrey quote. Quick story. Jim Carrey said that he had wrote himself a check, I think for $1 million, right? And had it in his pocket as a reminder. But the funny thing, to your point, when he got to $1 million, still didn't make him happy.
Yeah, that is so true. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate you being here, sharing so openly today. It was great having you on.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Man, a lot of fun. And enjoy Brazil, man. And if you ever make it over the pond to the United States, man, go see some real snow.
Okay, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate
No
the
problem.
invite.
Thank you. You have a great day.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.